think
Not quite
so. The
yet.
meeting is being live streamed. Yeah, we're live.
We're
It's
live.
saying it's live.
Cool.
We're
Oh,
live.
magic, magic, magic. I never know because it's saying preparing to go live stream. So um I haven't got it up here as
It is live. It's
oh, it
streaming
is.
now.
It is.
I can
Hello,
tell you for
everybody.
sure.
It's because my screen is diminished a bit. So it shortens it. So it's interesting. It's like, where else do we have things not quite within our window
Sorry.
of vision? And it's hiding. There's things hiding underneath that we don't know about. And that's for me. It's just that I need, when I clicked on the symbol underneath, up came, yes, it's live streaming. So hello everybody, and welcome to Nkosi Talk Show today. And I have with me Shireen Lovegrove and myself, who is not Nomsa Clara, because Nomsa is not with us. So
Yes.
I will rename
Yourself.
myself. um, Carol Ann. Okay, there we go. Hello. Um, yes, and the reason I was Nomsa was because I've come in through her um account to have us run here today. And the topic that we're going to talk about, when just get them in isn't care. Understanding EBSA, emotional behaviour school avoidance beyond attendance. Because I've come across a lot of one particular Facebook group, and then since then there's a lot of other people talking, and there's a lot of talking around parents who are at their wits' end. Their child, 2 days, 3 days, even a week before they're coming back to school, they're saying that they're getting anxious, they don't want to go, and yet they were fine in the holidays. They were happy, and now there's all this stress coming out, and the parents are worried because they're having, what's the word? Conversations or forced conversations with the school. They're not feeling supported, and they just don't know what to do. So I just thought it would be a great topic to talk about over the next few weeks, various aspects of it. And the one today, what we want to do here is actually wake parents up to the deeper emotional, neurological, and safety-based reasons that actually children resist school, and why compliance is not the same as well-being. What happens when they become compliant? What happens when you force them? Your child isn't broken. And so we're going to look at why school refusal is actually a nervous system response. And so really naming what's going on here to start with. The conversation is about validation and clarity today. And so, before any solutions, strategies, or negotiations with schools, parents actually, they need language for what they're witnessing. They need permission to trust their instincts, because I think that has been pushed down such that they don't trust their own instincts anymore. A parent knows their own child. And relief from the belief that they are actually failing or overreacting, because again, that's something that they're told. And so they feel that they're failing. So this episode is going to name EBSA as a nervous system response, not a behavioral choice. So what do you hear out of that, Shireen?
It's really interesting because, as I said, I don't know a huge amount about that, but I certainly know about responses with regards to safety, right? Safety mechanisms.
Yeah.
And I think I think what's really important here was the idea there's a renaming of something so that we can start to begin to, yeah, come into an acceptance towards something. So when we come into acceptance towards something, we are not frightened, we move towards it, right? When we often name something, it takes the fear away. And it also relieves us of the expectations that we may be carrying about something. And I think it must be incredibly, I mean, I don't have children, but I could imagine, and as a child that loved going to school, I never ever had this experience,
Mm,
personally myself. And but there is something that since COVID, certainly,
mm-hmm,
there's been a higher increment of people really not wanting to go back to school. Lots of kids not going to go back to school. And I do think part of that is also the parents being very frightened about their kids going back to school. And so you had that period of time that happened then, which meant that on some level, and we're giving the message to our children that it's not safe.
mm-hmm.
And so
Oh dear.
there are children that go to school and schools are not safe places for them, right? Full
Mm,
stop.
yeah.
Because they, first of all, one, they may not have the emotional safety within themselves to be in that kind of environment. And so therefore they can't adapt and they are unable to
It's me frozen or you frozen. Oh, Shireen frozen.
performing. So that then blames the children for not doing very well,
mm,
right? So often
yeah.
schools do not necessarily look at this part of why is this child being the way they're being, right?
Mm,
They're just happy to have compliant children, really. They don't want children that are extraordinary, children that are outside those norms, that are different and want and have different ways of being. So I think that, and this of course then spills up because in relationships, children go home, things happen, and there's this perpetual struggle of trying to get your kid to go to school. That really has a knock-on effect in relationships, right? Not
right.
just on the parent and child, but parent and parent.
Mm,
I
absolutely.
mean, invariably, that's where you're going to have a real breakdown happening
Mm,
because one is going to have different opinions than the other.
yeah.
And and that's
And
good.
home is meant to be the safe place. And yet when
Mm.
you're given a message or told as a parent, which is something I read just this morning, someone was told to make their home a little bit more uncomfortable than school, so they would go to school.
Oh,
What messages are
oh,
you giving
oh, no,
to,
no, 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 no.
you know? But do you trust people in like authority? Um, that and so you take that on because you
Mm.
believe that they know better.
Yeah.
And yet, so again, in doing that, it overrides your own instincts. It makes you feel um, that you have to do this. There's a fear there. And so you're making home more
Mm.
uncomfortable, more unsafe than school. So they'll go to school. What
Then
message are
where
you
is a
giving
place
the
for
child?
safety,
Yes,
right? Where do that? Where can
exactly.
they be safe? Oh my God,
Yeah,
how awful would that be for
yeah.
that child,
And
right?
who can you trust? Because
Yeah.
now, your parents aren't backing you up.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so
Mm.
who do you trust? So you're really setting their nervous system up to not feel
Yeah.
safe, to not know who to trust. And this is what a lot of people don't realize is the impact that it has throughout their life. And
Mm.
actually, in those moments where their nervous system then creates an identity because it makes it mean, well, I'm not safe. I can't trust these people, or my feelings aren't valid.
Mm.
Um, what's
Mm.
going on for me doesn't matter. And so they create an identity which they then live into throughout their
Yeah.
life and will
Yeah.
go into relationships which won't validate what's going on for them,
Mm.
which will make them feel unsafe because that becomes the norm. And so this is where people don't realize what you're actually starting off that will get perpetuated throughout life. And I've
Mm.
started just recently diving deeper into the nervous system response and some things that I've held right from a child that I then created an identity around that has caused me to behave in a certain way that I've realized was not working for me anymore. And when I realized that, I mean, it literally cracked me open. I just was sobbing. I was in tears. My heart was going, oh my God, you know. But I feel so much lighter now that I've actually realized this. And it's in the realizing of it that it then dissipates, the letting go of the emotion.
Mm.
That
Mm. Mm.
why do we have to get to that point? I'm almost 72. It's taken me this long to find this. And it went back to my childhood, went back to my before I was even born, things got set up in my nervous system. So children struggling with school, it's not school, it's their feeling safe. It's their nervous system that doesn't feel safe in that moment. So what we need to address is, well, what is actually going on for them?
Mm.
What has them feel not safe? And
Yeah.
validate their experience, their feeling.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember going into the school with my daughter to talk to the head teacher about my granddaughter. And the head teacher was saying, well, they're safe there. They're safe here. And I said to her, but my granddaughter doesn't feel safe. There's a
Yeah.
difference. You might say, oh, they are safe, but she doesn't feel safe because of the interaction that was had with this particular teacher. I'm not saying
Yeah.
she's not safe. She didn't feel, and that's the crux of it. If a child
Mm.
doesn't feel safe, it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that they're not safe. Maybe they aren't safe because the teacher may be threatening in some way, but you have to validate what the child is feeling because
Yeah.
it's their nervous system that then
Yeah.
sets everything up that has them go, oh, I don't want to be here,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And it's really interesting because it's making me think about something which I had a discussion about this week, which was, I have a person that I know that who doesn't feel safe whenever she get, she's older and she's
Mm,
had a couple of knee replacements and things like and just really cannot. We know she can walk and we know she can do things, but she just hasn't got this feedback mechanism
mm,
that whenever she succeeds and does it well, she doesn't remember it. Now she has got a very good memory,
mm,
but somehow this loop of not safety
mhm.
does not compute on some level. And I think this is something we're talking about now.
Yes.
We're talking about the neurological system when it's been primed.
Mhm.
It actually has this loop that
Yeah.
if it's not counteracted in some way, in a way that makes them feel safe, so they need to feel the safety as an embodied feeling
Mm,
before this feeling of trust can happen. So it's really interesting. We think about, for me, it's, just as you were doing this, it's just really triggering this in a sense of
mm,
reminding me a little, because I work with pregnant women, right? And my
mm.
my work is predominantly about helping a mom who's been incredibly stressed
Yeah.
learn how to self-regulate because she is in training her baby while the
Mm,
baby's in her tummy, right? And you
exactly.
were saying before you were born,
Yes.
you experienced or your mum had
Mm,
stress. And
yeah.
we know that from a physiological thing, children born in the war actually have got more problems. We can see their physical problems, mainly diabetes and cardiac problems. But actually, a lot of those problems are stem from an inner stress response, an inner response that was caused of a not feeling safe. And that not feeling of safe, they don't even know existed, right? It
Yeah.
happened outside of, and it's now set up as a neurological priming so that they develop, as you say, a certain type of temperament. It
Mm-hmm.
switches on certain genes and or ameliorate certain genes. So they end up having a temperament that then means they're more affected, say, in their gut or in their other systems. So
Mm.
that then mean later on they have this physiological response.
Yeah.
But it's there as a neurological response first. We have to understand that. It's the neurology that gets primed. And we
Yes.
have to undo that.
Mm.
And and one of my parts of my work is I truly believe that we can train and entrain people to be able to be resilient and anti-fragile, which means they got bounce back, so that when they are born, they will not be so triggered and they will be able to respond. Now, every one of us are born with trauma to some degree, right?
Mm.
Every one of us, because there's inherited trauma that's come from millennia that we carry. We come into a social construct which has its rules, right? We have rules about school, right? So there's all sorts of things there. We have rules about how to bring up children, and we have rules about all sorts of things. None of those rules really pay attention to how safe the child feels. They're rules about how to keep the person physically safe, but they're not rules about how to keep a child mentally and emotionally safe
Yeah.
and how to give them that total embodied feeling of feeling safe.
Mm.
And so it's really important that when the children go to school, they have this feeling that they are wanted and they're in this lovely enclosure, that they're feeling loved and adults need to be very aware of how they are when
Mm.
they're with children. As you were saying, a child may not feel safe with a particular teacher. They are safe
Mm-hmm.
because the teacher's not going to kill them, right?
No.
Not going to hit them, not going to do whatever. But are they really safe? No, because they're perceiving, their neural system has perceived, and
Mm.
what they perceive is real, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's real. And so, and I think that's one of the things in my book, The I Can, I say what we perceive, we believe.
Yeah.
It
Very much so.
becomes real, and we keep validating that every time because every time we feel unsafe, we validate that belief, right? And we
Right.
say, oh, she's not a safe teacher, right? I'm not safe here. I'm not safe here. So that becomes a belief. And so therefore we can't get out of the loop that we're now in. And it's harder for children because children have a lot of children see the world in black and white, don't they?
I
It's
don't
only as
know.
we get
Yeah.
older that we tend to see grey, a lot of grey,
Okay. Yeah.
and we see that black and white is the extremes, and most of the rest is all the spectrum between.
Mm.
Um, and it takes some form of healing for us to be able to see that, and also some growing into ourselves and into our space for us to be able to hold that not everything is black and white, that there are lots of grey,
Mm.
and we don't always have the knowing. So I think this is a really difficult conversation, but it's also something that really needs to be held so that families can really understand this. And I think I'm so grateful you have brought it up because it's especially the idea that this is an emotional response, not a behavior. The behavior is just a symptom of the response that's going on
Yes.
underneath.
Yeah.
So and if we label it, then we're kind of saying we're putting it into this kind of box,
Yeah.
which
Mm.
means, hey, it's a box here, but hey, what's all this stuff that's all around it, right? This box, we're only going to concentrate on this box. No, 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 no. Labeling isn't the answer to, I know it's one way of getting, funding and things like that, and may help us understand things, but to undo the label is the part to healing, right?
Yeah. I think having a label, as you say, for some parents, it's like that. Oh gosh, it's that really, it's given a name to it. But what you have, as you say, you have to realize is that by giving them a label, you're slapping over, like you're papering over what's really going on underneath.
Yeah.
And so it's getting to know what is actually going on underneath, the emotions that are there for the child. What is the trigger? What is it for them? And each child is different. You know, we try and sort of put this label over, and therefore they're all the same. Well, they're not. And it's being able to be with each child and get to know, well, what is happening for them. And there's something that went through my head earlier on, but it'll come back. It's like
It'll circle
it'll
around.
circle around exactly like things do in this conversation. But it's understanding the fact that they've actually gone in to the survival response,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Mm.
And if we can actually, and for parents, it is recognizing for them their emotions, their fears can also affect the child. So it is helping, even though you're maybe trying to be calm. Hear that word try.
Mm.
Try implies effort. It
Mm.
means that you're shutting down your own emotional fear and anxiety that's going on so that you're trying to be calm.
Yeah.
But what you don't realize with these children is that they can feel that fear. They feel
Mm.
the uncertainty, the anxiety,
Mm.
and so they don't feel safe. It's like, well, what's going on here? So if you, as a parent, can make yourself, the word is coherent. It's helping
Mm.
your heart to become coherent, to become, what's another word for coherent? It's
Well,
less
coherent,
anxious, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
in
calm and
harmony.
in
It's in
harmony.
harmony,
That's it.
isn't it? Coherence
Yes,
is a form of harmony. Yeah.
harmony. And I know the brain gym activity called hookups, which is one way to cross your ankles. You do put your hands like this, thumbs to the floor, intertwine your fingers like this, and just roll under. And this actually, standing in this position or sitting in it, helps you to feel
Mm.
the emotions. And I've stood in that with one of my grandchildren when she was very little and she was throwing a tantrum. And I was stood with my back to the door in hookups, and she kept throwing herself, because we were in the bedroom, throwing herself on the bed and coming up to me and hitting the door because she wanted to go out. And she wanted to go after her mum because her mum had to go. But as I stood in hookups, I could feel this anger in me
Mm.
rise and want to meet her anger, which is where normally it would have gone. But it's like just staying in hookups and focusing on my breathing allowed for me to feel it. And then it just went. And still holding that space, she eventually calmed down.
Mm.
And this is what I mean by the coherence, because any anger that I felt or started to give or anxiety went. And so she was able to calm down. And then we were able to talk. Because actually, when a child is in that survival mode, they do not have access to language. They don't have access to reasoning. So it's no good saying to them, well,
Mm.
we need to get out, need to get to school today, otherwise we're going to. That logic doesn't even go in
Mm.
because they haven't got that capacity. They're not in the part of the brain that can fathom logic. They're in
Mm.
that brainstem where the fight, flight, and freeze is. And so they don't even have access to language. So trying to reason with them, it doesn't, that's why it doesn't work, you know? And so it is about once you become coherent, they become coherent, then
Mm.
they've got access to the language because then they've moved up into this higher cortex part of the brain where you've got access to language, where you can then have that conversation. And so moving that back to with the teachers, what I was saying about as the parents feeling that anxiety, a child can feel the teacher's fear and anxiety.
Oh, yeah,
And when
definitely.
so that's where they don't feel safe because there's well, what's this person going to do? And the teacher
Mm,
may be, fully in control there or seem to be, but actually underneath,
mm,
there's all this stuff going on for the teacher themselves. I've got to control this class. And so that child that's much more sensitive will feel that. And that's where they don't feel safe. So again, it triggers that I'm not safe. I'm not safe here. I got to get
mm,
out of here. They'll also feel the other children's anxieties and angers and upsets, Um, so it's realizing and fully understanding what is going on for these children to say to help them feel safe. And the first place they need to feel safe is at home.
yeah.
Because if they can't feel safe at home, where else can they be safe?
Yeah.
And if they don't feel safe at school or they're forced to go to school, they can't learn because they're not in the part of the brain that accesses the ability to learn.
Mm,
That for me is the bit that I go, can't you get that? That's the
mm,
real crux of a lot of this is that forcing a child into school doesn't help them to learn.
mm.
Yeah.
Well, they'll learn something, won't they? But
Sorry.
not
Yes.
not what we
Yeah,
want
yeah,
them
yeah.
to
You're
learn.
right. Absolutely. They've learned. Yes.
They learn
What we're saying,
something,
something. Yes. But
and
not
they
what
learn
they're
that,
there
yeah,
to learn. Yeah,
yeah, that
absolutely.
they don't get what the school is really about, right?
Right.
Which is to learn about other things, not just about fear and being in fear and
Yeah.
learning that nothing what I do is going to change. These kinds of things that
Mm,
go on when you're in that kind of fear cycle. And I think what's so important is what you keep reiterating there, is that the most important thing is home is the safe place, right? No matter what, home is a safe place. And I know that most mums, when you have a baby or a young child, for the first while, a child often is outgoing, and then, well, when a baby first starts to observe the world, they're kind of happy to go and say hello to everybody and put out their arms. But what happens is there come a period of time where they kind of are quite shy, quite naturally, because now they're realizing that there's this space and there's my mum's space. Whereas before, they've always been in their mother's space in a way, and they feel that mother energy and they are absolutely linked. But the moment they get legs and they can walk around, guess what? Now, oh, I'm in my own little space. Oh, this is different. This is different. And so often you have to do something called a sheathing process where you often have children come back to you and they hold you and they put their legs around you and you just say, oh, it's okay, it's fine. I'm watching you, you're okay. And you're encouraging, okay, go and do that. And if they want to, they do. And very soon they kind of disappear again but they've left because they felt safe, right?
right.
They left voluntarily.
Mm,
That's the difference. And in a
yeah.
way, you want children to voluntarily want to go to school,
Yeah.
right? If they're not voluntarily going to school, it means
Mm,
something is going on. Something is. So I think if we think about it in that way, if your kid says, "Hey, I'm off to school. Yes, I'm so excited," you know that they are engaged and they're voluntarily wanting to do it.
mm,
And there's no force, even if it means you still got to get them out of bed, they still will be happy to go. But it's that part of recognizing what is it about that sheathing process. If they're not safe at home, how can they have a sheathing process where they can use
mm,
a the part that makes them feel safe, which is the part that's inside ourselves, right?
right.
If the inside of ourself is not going out and being safe as we move in our little shield, then
Yeah.
we're not safe. And so you've got to have somewhere where you don't have to have your shield up. And no matter what, we all walk out of the house and we all hold a shield to some degree because it's not normal to not have a shield to some degree. right? Because we have
Okay.
to be aware of what's going on around us. We have to be aware of boundaries. We have to be aware of other people. We have to, and it's when they bump against our shield that we're aware of it. So they're there. And I think it's really important to kind of understand that when they're at school, if that shield is now becomes so closed that they can't feel safe, they can't access anything, that means that they're going to be so close to everything else. And
Yeah.
there's no flexibility within the system. And I think that's the thing that we're really talking about because
Yeah.
when you're in a stress response, when you're in the survival response, you don't have any flexibility, no cognitive flexibility at all.
Mm-hmm.
You are unable to hear things very correctly. You will only hear based on your past assumptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
you'll only hear the bad things very often.
Yeah.
You won't be able to see the wood from the trees. So you won't, so even if someone is, even it will take a lot for you to be able to let someone penetrate that.
Mm.
So it doesn't matter what people are saying. If you're that closed down, you just need someone to take you to a quiet space and sit with you.
Mm.
They they do need someone to be present.
Yeah.
Being on their own, even if that someone present is on the far side of the room, they need to know there's someone there.
Mm.
Because if there isn't, then they're in a room by themselves, and that's not safe either.
Mm. Yeah. Not being present is really important. And you don't necessarily need to be talking,
Yeah.
just being present to them, and what's happening with them, just being
Being present
consciously
and
there.
just breathing, just
Yeah.
breathing,
Breathing.
breathe in time with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then slow your breathing down so that they then follow you.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
And for most parents, it's the same thing, right?
Right.
Breathe in, breathe at the same speed that your child's breathing, and then slow
Mm.
your breathing down because then your child will slow down. They will regulate according to you.
Mm.
So it's a really beautiful technique. It's a really beautiful thing if we know, and it's the greatest gift we can give is that presence of just staying with someone and breathing
Mm.
and not telling them to follow our breath.
No,
It's
just
just us breathing to feel,
with them.
because if you're breathing fast and they're breathing fast, you know, oh, they must be feeling awful,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay.
Right.
So that gives you the ability to be in their shoes for a moment.
Mm.
And then you can kind of start, okay, that's them. This is me. This is me. That's them. That's me. Breathe down. And as you do that, you'll find because you're regulating the energy field around you. I know people, I'm talking about, energy fields, but
Mm.
that field of love and presence that's there
Mm.
will resonate because I believe it actually changes the air molecules around
Mm.
us.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we're frenetic, we're moving these air molecules. But if we're calm, then the molecules are actually slowing down. They're actually coming into order.
Mm.
They're in coherence, they're in order.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember once when one of my granddaughters in the primary school, I happened to be there helping with some of the year sevens reading, and I heard this door slamming and someone shouting and off, and I realized it was actually my granddaughter had run out of a classroom,
Mm.
and they were chasing her around the school. I was like, oh my God. And they called me in, and then she came in to the
Mm.
classroom, and literally I could feel she was out of it. She was so scared. And I just held her, but I actually held these points here, which are emotional stress release
Yeah,
points,
yeah, yeah,
and just held and stood with her and just breathed, and just until she could calm down. It took quite a while
yeah.
for her to then
Mm.
calm down, because literally for me, it was an experience of her. She actually had left her body. It's like her spirit. She'd gone. She
Yeah.
wasn't in her body.
Mhm.
And eventually she was able to calm down, and then we were able to talk. But what has that done to her? I don't know if that, and sort of remembering that now,
Mm.
there will be something still restored in her nervous system around this that one day she might get to release and or let go of. Um, but it's never been fully addressed, and I'm just remembering it now, you know. But I think
Well, I
being
mean,
able
she
to
had
help
you
her
there,
calm
didn't she?
down, exactly.
And
Yes,
so maybe that didn't unwind in that moment, right? Because
yeah.
she had a moment to get back into
And she felt
regulation.
safe. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So she would have formed a belief at that moment in time. Oh, my granny's here. I'm safe.
Safe.
I'm okay.
That's true.
Someone's on my
Yeah,
side,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That word, someone's
Yes.
on my
So on my
side.
side, yeah, and
Yeah.
understands
And so she
because they
wouldn't have
weren't
felt.
listening to her. They were
Mm,
trying to
mm,
say she was lying. And it's
yeah.
like, hang on. They were believing the teacher over her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, they weren't really listening to her.
Mm,
You know, she's not someone that lies. She's very true and truthful, you know? Um,
yeah.
so I was a bit sort of shocked when I was having to say, well, no, we really need to listen to this. And if it's the teacher said something else, for her, this is her experience of it. Does it make it wrong or not
Mm,
truthful? It was her experience of what
yeah.
happened. So that's the truth for her, you know, and what the teacher says is the truth for the teacher. Does it make
Yeah.
either of them wrong, you know, or liars? And this is what people don't realize, that it's the truth for them, how they perceived it in that
Perceived it.
moment. The
Mm,
filter that you were talking about, how did they hear it? What was said? You know, both teacher and child, you know, pupil, because obviously the teacher would have been stressed as well. So what are
yeah.
they hearing? And this is it, it's those filters that it goes through. And this is what we have to acknowledge and get in touch with and get in communication with.
Mm,
What is the truth for that person, for the
yeah.
teacher, for the child, for the parent? You know, what is the truth? Rather than saying, oh, no, that can't be true because they're saying something else. So this is where it's fun, you know, needs to be looked at that deeper level. And
Mm,
I remember when I first started training in brain gym, when I was teaching, and there was a pupil who used to have his head on the table all the time. He couldn't cope with class, and he had irritable bowel syndrome and a lot of other things going on for him. And his mum allowed me to do a brain gym balance with him because I was wanting to practice what I'd
practice.
learned. And he shifted from somebody who was, you know, head on the desk all the time to being able to sit up and take part in the class. Because what was happening for him, and it was absolutely astonishing, because at the end of the balance, the
Mm,
process that I took him through, he went, oh, I know what that sound is now. That's my telephone ringing in my house, all that far away. And oh, I know what that smell is. That's the sixth formers coming up from back of the school with pizza. Oh, I can hear the ducks. Oh, it's the ducks on the brook, which was at the back of the school. That was how sensitive
it
his
was.
hearing and his smell and, you know, for him. So is it
So
any
he was
wonder?
overloaded.
Absolutely, he couldn't make
Mm,
it out. So, boom, you know, and irritable bowel syndrome. It's like his stomach's going, I can't stomach this, you know. And
mm,
from that point on, he was able to sit in the classroom and access the learning because his nervous system could cope. He felt safe because he could make out what, you know, his senses were hearing and smelling. He could make
mm.
sense of it. So that for me was quite, you know, I was like, wow, I hadn't realized someone could have that level of sense, you know. Um, but it
And
was the shift for
lots of
him.
autistic children do have that. They are so
Well,
overwhelmed. They're
mm-hmm.
almost like multisensory
Three,
to the nth
it's three.
degree,
Yeah.
which means that, loud noises
Mm-hmm.
really make it
Hard.
very hard. And it's not that they are intolerant,
Mm,
it's that they have this very so fine-tuned acute hearing, so
yeah.
fine-tuned acute feeling
Mm-hmm.
that it's almost so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Mm,
it is really interesting. And it
yeah.
was so good that you were able to give him that you were
Mm,
able to just open that space so that he could
yeah.
be able to regulate enough
Mm-hmm.
that he would be able to go, oh, that's the ringing. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the pizza.
The sixth one was bringing pizza up from the.
And it's
I
a
know.
gift too, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's also a gift because
Mm,
they could be a primary fantastic detective, right? So you could say, wow, your skills as a
it's,
detective, I
mm,
wonder how we could use
use
those
those. That's right.
to it. And that's where you start to engage, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
start to give people, let them hone those skills that are
Yeah.
so beautiful and wonderful and share
Absolutely.
them with the world.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. As you say, I love that way of phrasing it. It's a gift. It's their skills. How can you use them more and make the best use of them? But for me, it was like he was actually able to sit up in the class
Mm,
and listen and, access the learning that was going on. So, yeah, I, um, I like this here. It's understanding comes before solutions. Safety comes before learning. Relationship comes before compliance.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
love those phrases there.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
because if the child is struggling to attend school, it's not something to be crushed. It's something to be understood. And yeah, the thing is, attendance is often the goal, isn't it? They've got to attend at
Yeah,
all costs.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
safety, regulation, and
Felt sense of
feeling
security.
safe,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
must come first. That is
Yeah.
paramount. But I think it's both ways because there is the school is running on fear because they're going to get it in the
They
neck
have
because their
targets, right?
attendance isn't right.
Mm.
Their grades aren't, they're not
Mm.
succeeding. So I know what it's like to have or be
Mm.
in a school as a teacher, in a school in special measures, where you've got all of, you've had Ofsted in and they said, no, you're failing, you failed. And then you've got all these things and hoops that you have to jump through. And it's like, oh my goodness, So you've got the um, higher levels of the school, the
Yeah,
head and the
yeah.
management team, but the governors, they're all putting the pressure on you. So then you're putting pressure on the pupils. And I can remember feeling like I was in a pressure cooker,
Mm.
you know, because we're putting all this pressure on the children. And it's like, how can they feel safe in that environment when we don't feel safe because we're threatened with our jobs? We
Yeah.
feel that
Mm.
we're going to get it, and uh, it's they don't realize the knock-on effect, and then you're putting it out to parents. And I remember ringing 5 parents who had allowed me to work with their children, and I just wanted to feed back how grateful I was for that and for the change, and say well done. And each one of them, when I first said, "Oh, this is Mrs. Cooper, head of maths here," I could feel that, oh God, what's my child done now? Because they were constantly in trouble and always. So
Mm.
that was only the cause that the parents would get. And when I said, "Oh no, I just want to say, thank you and well done," I was really pleased with the child. I could feel, oh, really? And then they opened up and conversations, and I heard things about these children that I didn't know about, but also they'd noticed shifts with their child as well that they hadn't realized just
Mm.
out of one process that I did with each of these 5. Um, so to be able to give them that, ah, I'm not being, you know, my child's not being told off again, because that doesn't help the parents. It doesn't help the relationship at home, because immediately the child can feel, oh no, you know,
Mm.
parents have been told and know what's
And
going to happen.
and we're going to be really honest. Lots of parents are still children, right?
Right.
I'm going
They've
to be
got
really
that.
honest. We've all grown
It
up,
triggers.
but we all
Yes.
also feel like children at times, right?
Yes.
And
Right.
it's if we, it's really we don't have the resources all the time. Most parents don't have the resources, and this is really part of the problem, right? Because nobody goes into when you get married, when you get into relationships, when you get into having kids,
Mm,
no one does self-development.
no.
We just do living, right?
Yeah.
But in order for us to create a society that is caring, that is really successful, we have all, parents and children, parents have to grow up,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
We have to stop being children as parents. And so we have to look and start going, where are my behaviors? Where are my
Mm,
feelings of not being safe?
yeah.
What's all this happening? How can I hold some resilience around these spots where I get triggered
Mm,
so that I can be the best parent for my child?
yeah.
And you're already doing a brilliant job.
Mm,
But this is about expanding into a different kind of parenting and expanding into a different kind of space of being, right? This is not about being wrong or right or whatever. It's just about how do we get to be in our most self-actualized state, right? How do
yeah.
we get to be where we are, where we can shine by our
Mm,
own light, radiate that light that's within us, with our own brilliance of genius, right?
mm,
And that,
absolutely.
and we can only do that from a safe place. I
Mm,
mean, you and I, we know we have a source power. We go to our source, right?
right.
That's our safe place. No
Mm,
matter where we are, I can sit at the top of the mountain and I can access my safe place. And when you access your safe place, it does create coherence around you,
yeah,
right? So
definitely.
and that means that whatever seems impossible becomes possible in strange kind of ways. I'm not saying you're going to lift off and fly. I don't think we're light enough to do that yet because we're not, our cells are not that energy efficient, but I think they can be. When we feel lighter, once you did your release work, you felt light. We are
Mm,
physically lighter. And often in those situations, we're burning brighter, but we're also losing weight too.
mm, yeah,
So I think it's really about recognizing as a parent, just when the school does that thing, like you said, the telephone, what's my child done now? They're in fear response right away. They're
yeah.
going, not even defensive, it's just, oh God,
Mm,
what's going on?
yes.
What do I have to deal with now
Uh,
instead of, oh, right, let's see what happens. So they're not even
mm,
coming into that space, which would be, oh, I wonder, it could be something nice instead of something bad,
mm,
right?
mm, yeah.
Even if it is 100 times all the time bad, oh, maybe this time, just
Right.
once, it could be nice.
Yeah.
If you go with that attitude, well, you're already feeling safer than you were before.
Mm. And you're right, there is that. And I think it's what you were saying about, the parents, I'd say even the teachers, because I realized that even
Yeah.
as a teacher, when I started on this personal development um, journey, and was realizing my part in a lot of it, and how when I actually became head of department, my inner child was triggered because it was,
Mm,
no, I didn't feel safe. And oh my God, I couldn't cope with certain things. Um,
yeah,
but it's not laying blame. I think this is the key thing here with what you're saying. It's not saying that anybody's at fault, they're to
yeah,
blame. It's recognizing, as you were saying, what is still in part of their inner child who gets triggered, where they're
Mm,
not feeling safe, because it's that part of you that will then run the show in that moment
mm,
when you're not feeling safe. That's
yeah.
what gets triggered. And so the self-actualization is actually being aware. It's that having that awareness. I think
Mm.
that's what self-actualization is about, isn't it?
Mm.
It's having
Well, I
that
think it's when your
awareness.
emotional self matches your mental self,
Mm,
right? Or they come together as a space where they're coherent, and you feel have a feeling of being whole, of feeling no matter what happens, I'm carrying this safety within me,
yeah,
right?
right.
And so, even though we may be in an unsafe environment, we can still walk with that feeling of safety that allows us to be resilient. It allows us greater cognitive flexibility. Because
Hmm.
even in the midst of a fire, we can still turn around in that moment and be safe and go,
Mm,
where's the pathway out, right?
yes. Yeah.
If you don't carry the safety with you, you won't
Mm,
see that.
mm,
So that's what I'm talking about. When our
mm,
emotional safety or our emotional self has caught up,
mm,
then these two are aligned together. They're
mm,
coherent with each other.
mm.
That's what I think self-actualization is. It's when these parts come together to form the whole, right?
Right.
And we're able, and I suppose
Mm.
it probably will never be that all of us can do it, but the predominance of that motion is in that space where it's aligned.
And I think the path to that point is having the awareness that,
Yes,
oh, I've been triggered.
absolutely.
Because for me, it became a game. It was like it was not making myself wrong because I've been triggered and oh God, I'm angry again. And oh, it was, oh, I'm triggered. And it's how quickly can you
Mm.
then
Oh,
release it,
absolutely.
come back to
Yeah,
presence, let go of the make wrong or whatever it is, and bring yourself into that coherent space. And that was what all the training and the
yeah.
helped me to do, because I had the tools to be able to
Mm.
release that trigger or
Yeah,
understand what that trigger was. So yeah, more and more that alignment then does
yeah.
happen.
And I think
Um,
that's what you're saying is really important, is that emotional trigger is a learned response of protection,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
not something that's bad. It's a learned response.
Mm,
So we've learned this so that we can be okay for some reason. But as an adult, as an evolving being,
mm,
when we bring the awareness to that and we say, okay, you're trying to warn me about that, but is this really true? Right? Do I really need this to go forward? Probably not. Okay. Once we've updated it, once we've given the awareness and we've given it so that the safety is met, right?
mm-hmm.
Because that's what it is. We've got to meet
Yeah.
the safety.
Yes.
Once the safety criteria is met, hey, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not, this person, I'm old enough, I'm big enough, I can cope, I'm all right. All of these things that
Yeah.
we've done this little checklist. Once that checklist is kind of correct, then this emotional self will go, okay.
Mm,
I'm all right. I feel safe. I'm all right. And that's
mm,
when this alignment of self-awareness, self-illumination, and self-actualization
mm-hmm.
starts to take place. And self-actualization I think, is when more and more and more of that has happened,
Mm, yeah.
that we are very seldom triggered anymore.
Mm.
Or we can respond, as you said,
Very
very quickly to
quickly.
the
Yeah.
trigger, and we have resolved it within a second. So
Yeah.
we don't even take time. There's no time space anymore.
Mm,
The solution is already there.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think that's the key point there, isn't it, that we've been talking about, is safety, feeling
Yeah.
safe. There's a difference between being safe and feeling safe. And I think that's the distinction that's coming through. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of like when people say to you, well, I know that you say that this is there, but I don't feel this, right? It's because it hasn't become fully embodied in every cell.
yeah.
So every cell within us has got to experience that feeling of safety. before we can. And to be honest, actually, safety in the brain is there are certain neurocorrelates that
Mm-hmm.
need to feel like the insula, which is about a perception of the body, right?
Right.
Where that sort of thing is where the body, you know where you are in your body and can feel yourself in your body. Most people that don't feel safe don't even feel they don't even feel
Feel.
themselves in their body, right?
Yeah. Right.
So you want to fill your body out to its capacity
Mm-hmm.
so that you're energetically are full, right? Then you feel safe and you feel stronger. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a similar kind of feel in there, but we
Yeah.
know in the brain this is important.
Yes.
When you look at some of the changes that happen, you go, oh,
Uh,
yeah, that's what it is
yes.
in these
Yeah.
particular areas.
So is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with in particular?
I mean, really is, I mean, most of the what we've been speaking about, but really more about, I think, is just that, you're not wrong. What you perceive is true for you. What your child perceives is true for them. Acknowledge them. Acknowledge them. Acknowledge that what they perceive is true for them. Don't undervalue it. Give it some validation and say, and there's also other truths. So that they get to have, because when you acknowledge, that takes fear down straight away.
Mm-hmm.
It brings cognitive thing online, and it also then means that they're more likely to see someone else's point of view.
Yeah. Mm. Nice.
Win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I'd like to leave listeners with is about a language shift for
Yeah.
parents. So some reframes. Um, so from saying, rather than saying school refusal, rephrase it as school related distress. Attendance problems, reframe that as a safety signal. And managing behavior to supporting regulation. And it's all in words because they shape how everyone responds.
Yes.
And I think for parents, how you phrase it
Mhm.
will help it land differently at school and with the authorities, and it will help you to be heard.
Yeah.
So, learn perhaps a different language around this that gets
Very
heard.
important.
Yeah,
Very important.
yeah.
I mean, often when we always used to talk about a detox reaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always used to say to people, no, this is a recovery response.
Ah,
Completely different.
different.
And by saying that and saying it congruently
Mm-hmm.
means I know that you'll get through this. This is just something that comes to say that things are changing, right?
Yeah,
It's something healthy.
yeah.
So
Nice.
words, language shifts are really important.
Important.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So thank you for listening, and we're here every Tuesday, Shireen and I, and Nums will be back
Namsa,
tomorrow, and Cozy Talk Shows is here Monday to Friday, 1 o'clock. Please go on YouTube and subscribe, and please put any comments, or we'd love to hear your story around this, or any questions. And there are groups out there. As I realize I've been looking into this, there are groups out there. It is a big topic, and there are support systems out there, but it's being able to access them. So please, get in touch. We have ways we can support you. You do not need to be on your own. And that was the key message in this one particular Facebook
yeah.
group that I've seen, where people have said, oh, I don't feel I'm on my own. I don't feel like it's all me. So you are not alone.
Mm,
There are people in the same position, similar position, not exactly the same maybe, but
yeah,
similar, experiencing distress and discomfort and anxiety around this.
yeah.
So please get in touch, and God bless you, and see you next week. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.